All right, so I'm going to give you a basic rundown of the controls here. So we'll work our way from left to right, I suppose. So this big lever here, this is your master clutch here. That separates the engine from all the moving machinery up in the machine, and when you pull that back, it comes in and it snaps in. So that if that's back, that then has the engine drive. All the clutches in the machine, everything starts turning. All this stuff here. So that's kind of like if in a modern excavator, kind of like your pilot shut off. It's actually kind of in the same place. Then moving ahead, you have your steering jaw clutches here. So this lever has a down position, a middle, and an up position, and that is what decides which track you're going to drive and which track is going to be left undriven. And in this case, if you don't drive the track, the brake automatically applies. So down in the middle, it drives both tracks. Down, it locks one. Up, it locks the other. And that's how you get your steering. That's how your steering is achieved. Then moving up over here, the furthest lever over here, that is the ratchet for the boom winch. So that way the drum that winds the cable on, in this case, it holds up the gantry. Just the little, this little part here, if you look up, this little frame that sets up there, that's just there to get the cable high enough for the boom. So that's supported by the boom cable and winch. So that ratchet only allows that to come in. It can haul in, but it cannot pay out. The next lever here, this one is our shifter. So that shifts between travel and swing, or propel and swing. So the way this machine is set up is you have a set of clutches that can give you a forward and reverse or a left and right. There's only one set of those. So you have to change gears when you want to go. If you want to propel, you pull this lever back, and the machine does not have the ability to swing, but you can then propel it. When you put it back, when you put it into forwards again, into the forward position, I should say, then you end up where you have swing, but your propel is in neutral, or in this case, like I said before, when you don't drive, actually physically apply power to the tracks, the brakes automatically set. So basically it's tracks locked and you have the ability to swing left and right, or the swing is disengaged and you have the ability to propel forward and back. And this next lever here, this is the swing and propel clutches. Okay, so this lever works in both directions. So if you pull back, it swings right. If you push ahead, it swings left. And if you push ahead with the other lever shifted, you get forward travel and reverse travel. This lever does what they call back lock, so I can snap it in to swing right, kick it into neutral, or swing or push it ahead into what would be swing left. So when it's in swing, that's your pattern of left and right. And because you're sitting on the right hand side of the machine, it's kind of how you would, it makes sense to go that way. Then the next lever here, this is our boom hoist clutch. Okay, so this works in tandem with the ratchet here, the boom hoist ratchet. So if you pull this back, it engages a clutch and it hauls in the cable that I showed you before that holds up the gantry. So if this machine had a lattice boom on it, this would be boom up. That would be your protection for boom up, so it can't just pay out. And then with every clutch that actually lifts something and holds it, there's an associated brake. And down here on the floor, you've got, this is the pedal to apply the boom hoist brake, and this is the pedal to release it. If I push that ahead, all it does is kind of pick up on the other pedal. See, there we go. There's the action there. Now, if the ratchet lever was not engaged, that would pay out when I released it. But because the ratchet's in, it can't pay out. That's like the safety device. And then moving over here, we have our drag clutch. So this arrangement is a one-way clutch in the sense that I can pull it in, it back locks. This is the drum closest to me here, right to my left, so you can see the machinery move in and out, pop in and out when I pull it in and out of gear. And this is the winch that pulls in the lower cable here pictured now. That actually pulls the bucket into the machine. And that is associated with the left foot pedal. So this is your brake for that drum, and we'll get to those in a minute. The next lever is your lifting or main or hoist or whatever you want to consider it clutch. So that also back locks, that locks in the gear. And that's the opposite side, the other winch drum. So if you look outside the machine here, there's the two drums. So obviously the one on the left is the operator's side, the one on the right is the one I just showed you. And that cable runs up over the top of the gantry there, and goes out to the top of the dipper. So that has the capacity to raise the boom and extend the dipper depending on how you combine that function with the other cable. Then the last lever out here is your swing lock or swing brake. In this case, it's a brake, so you can apply this if it's moving, and it will stop the machine without damaging it. So this also back locks. This is very important for when you're getting off the machine to keep it from being able to swing downhill or wherever it wants to go, because one of the main differences between this and a hydraulic excavator is that your swing is just in neutral. So if you're not powering it to the right or to the left and you just leave this sit in neutral, the house is completely free to rotate unless you apply this brake. So the two times it basically use this brake is if you are in travel mode. So if you have your gear lever shifted in the travel mode, the house then is not in gear, so it's free to swing around and just go with gravity, and it's if you don't put this in, it swings pretty wildly actually, especially if the grade changes underneath you. So this is mainly applied for when you're propelling, and it's also applied whenever you leave the machine, especially if the bucket's off the ground for some reason. It keeps the house from turning. So so that's the main use of that. Now for the pedals. So you have two brake pedals, these that you really use, and the middle one I already explained. That is the boom hoist brake. It's basically a release. It's spring applied, and you have to give it pressure to release it. The right brake and the left brake are normally released and they latch down, so these are not spring applied. So the toe here is a latch, so you'll hear it click out if I, there we go, now that's released. Now see, I can pick that up. Now as I pick that up, it will slack. That's the lifting cable, so it will slack that off. You can see that slacked out. To lock it up again, you just push it down and it ratchets to the floor, and that's how that brake is set, is you step down on that. Left pedal operates the same way, but it does the other cable on the close drum here. So you'll see it's just a band brake, so as I release the linkage, you can see that starting to be able to move, and linkage comes up and down there, moves the toggle, pulls on the brake. But now, so when you're actually operating the machine, when you're running this thing, you really only are using the swing and the 2 clutches here, and the 2 pedals on the floor. You're not using all these levers really unless you're trying to travel, change the angle of the boom, steer it, or start or shut down the machine. So the basic operation is every time, so you unlatch these so you have full control over your foot pedals. And anytime you want to pull something in, so like if I want to lift this up right now, I would pull this in as I let up on the brake. So that way the brake is released and the clutch is applied. So then it hauls that cable in and it would lift the boom up. Then to stop that, you release the clutch and step on the pedal simultaneously. And then to let it down, you just simply let off on the brake and it'll slack the cable out. Same thing goes for the dragging clutch. So to haul it in, same procedure. To pay out the dipper, you just need to let up on the brake. So depending on how you combine those two, you'll get you can dig holes with it and move the machine pretty well. So it's swing, dragging, clutch, lifting clutch, and then the other levers are for when you're trying to propel it or adjust something on a machine. So I guess it's time to start it up and show you what it does here.